It's no secret that Bohemia Interactive has been hard at work on their new Infusion engine and rebuilding the Arma series from scratch with all of the lessons learned over the last 20 years. But if you've been following along this whole time, you might start to be getting a little antsy as to the progress they've been making. Because after 1.5 years, they've only been able to release one of the 3 milestones they've sought out to achieve. Naturally, people have been wondering what's going on with the roadmap. Has it been cancelled? Are the same features even being developed? Are they hoping everyone just kinda goes away so they can sweep Reforger under the rug like Project Argo? Well, just as my luck would have it, I turned my back for a measly little 4 weeks, and out comes a huge roadmap update that looks like it just changed some colors around. What gives? Well, in this video, I'm going to cover the new changes as well as something Bohemia said that has some interesting implications for Arma Reforger going forward. But before we get there, let's take a look at what their new approach to development seems to be. First, I think it's important that we address the elephant in the room, which is that as of the new helicopter update, Bohemia Interactive is considering the ground support milestone to be completed. If you remember the old roadmap, you may have noticed that AI commanding and AI driving has been quietly moved over to air assault, a pattern that will be quite common as you will see in a bit. Visual changes to the roadmap are helped by color coding to make progress more clear as to what has been delivered in green, what is currently being delivered on the experimental branch in yellow, and what is still planned for the future in white, which will be updated after every major or experimental update. While this is a nice touch, in my opinion, they're missing a 4th color option, which is blue for features that are anticipated to come next. Because I believe that's what people really want to know. It's like getting a good hit of dopamine when you know the outcome of a football game before you place your bet. Don't look into it too much, it was just an example. I mean, it's great to know that the things in white are coming at some point, but what's next? What can we look forward to while we enjoy the things that are in live? It's all part of a healthy marketing campaign, keeping your audience excited and hyped up. Especially since after the experimental branch goes live, there's usually a significant period of time until the next update. Now, I understand this might be quite difficult for them to do, since in a recent developer interview with Natasha Agafonova, she said that most of the features on the roadmap are in the research and development stage, so they don't really know what they're going to be delivering until it's closer to being done. One interesting thing to note is that Bohemia explained that, quote, in some cases, they have implemented features not originally included in the roadmap or extended the complexity of features beyond what was originally planned, end quote. What comes to mind here is the environmental update with hiking trail markers and map markers, as well as control bindings, server authoritative vehicles, modern weapon collimator base, and visual effects. So it would appear that Bohemia is indeed working in good faith, and just because an important feature to the Arma series isn't on the roadmap doesn't necessarily mean it won't be coming at all, just that it isn't a priority. Though, I'm still hoping someone from Bohemia hears my pleas for proper track IR and Tobii eye tracking support, so we can experience the game as it was intended, with full immersion. Bohemia has also made it clear that the milestone updates are no longer intended to be huge content patches, but rather are just features based on a theme that will be delivered whenever they're ready, not arbitrarily held back to be included in a collection of other updates. Which brings us to the updates to the roadmap. There were some sneaky little changes to the actual contents of the roadmap too, and I've compiled a list of everything that was subtly changed, at least in a meaningful way. So, let's start with the air assault milestone. As mentioned previously, they quietly moved AI commanding and AI driving from ground support to air assault. Then they added flare rounds for underbarrel grenade launchers, which is fantastic when flares get added to the game. Here's hoping they also add smoke grenades to UGLs. They moved the UK-59L machine gun from Final Strike to air assault. Then they moved M16A2 carbine from Final Strike to air assault. They also moved the S105 car from Final Strike to air assault. They moved mortars from Final Strike to air assault. They moved combat ops enhancements to air assault. Fuel nozzles were removed altogether, and for helicopters, added wording indicating that machine guns in helicopters will be controllable by AI in addition to players. For the supply system, they removed mention of ammo and construction supplies, so I believe we're just going to be dealing with a generic supply system, rendering my previous video fake news. Then they moved the electrical grid system to Final Strike, and they moved most Game Master updates to Final Strike. And finally, for suppressors, they removed mention of the new particle effects for them. Then, moving over to Final Strike, the helicopter weapons system wording changed to clarify that they intend to have rockets for the helicopters. For building destruction, they removed mention of an advanced system. However, Nellers has indicated that this doesn't really change anything. For the HQ role, they removed mention of AI units conducting supply runs, which, to be honest, was a feature I was really looking forward to. And finally, for the Game Master updates, they added functionality for pausing single-player scenarios. So now it looks like the new things yet to come to the air assault theme of updates is going to be flares, suppressors, scopes, bayonets, mortars, machine guns, civilian vehicles, AI commanding and AI driving, and combat ops on Everon, plus improvements to the scenario framework for mission creators. Final Strike is going to finish things off with anti-personnel mines, explosive charges, rocket pods for helicopters, light armor vehicles, the electrical grid system, Game Master updates, freeform building in conflict, the HQ role for conflict, and destructible buildings. At the time of this video, the helicopter update is currently on the experimental branch, and there are so many changes that aren't on the roadmap that it makes this the biggest update Arma Reforger has had yet, moving the version number into 1.0 territory. Does that mean Bohemia are planning on leaving early access? Because a version 1.0, for me at least, means that we're done with the disconnection issues and crashes, we're done with the only 32 player servers, done with the complex workarounds to get certain things to work like the workshop, and things just work as they should without silly bugs. As great as the helicopter update is, I personally think that it's still rough around the edges, and calling it out of early access without features people expect from an Arma title like AI commanding, more weapons and equipment, mortars, and other features that would put it on par with more established shooters like Squad, is likely going to lead to disappointment 2.0 with their fanbase. All just my opinion, of course. At the same time, Reforger is in a pretty good state, and with the helicopters is actually a pretty good Arma experience. So pushing it out of early access opens the game up to being available to the gigantic PlayStation market, since I believe Sony doesn't allow early access. So it might be purely a business decision. Going back to the changes on the roadmap, you might be wondering why all this shuffling around is important. For most people who just glanced at the roadmap, it probably isn't. However, Bohemia Interactive has said in their new roadmap post that, quote, features that we expect to take longer to complete have been moved to later milestones, and features that we expect to be completed sooner have moved to earlier milestones, end quote. So if I put on my reading between the lines glasses, what this means is that we might expect features in Air Assault to happen before features in Final Strike. But seriously, features like mortars, AI driving and commanding, new machine guns, and enhancement to combat ops is likely coming much sooner rather than later. Unfortunately, this means that some of my own anticipated features are being pushed back to near the end of the roadmap, like the freeform base building, anti-personnel mines, and building destruction. One positive note that I'd like to leave you off with is that this new roadmap hasn't really changed much from the old one, which is great news if you were expecting a lot of features to get cut. I know I was sweating it. Instead, most of the features have just been shifted around with a few minor tweaks, but now we have a much better idea on what features to expect next, which is going to change the game in significant ways. So, to stay in the loop about what these features mean for gameplay, check out this video next. My name is Ironbeard. It was an honor to have your attention, and I'll see you on the battlefield.